and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting edition of Debate Friday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jah, and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Debate Friday, we're going to be looking at four important issues. They are: the president of Liberia on his 7 weeks long trip has asked for an extension. We want to see what is going on. Also, Lawmaker Yekeh is on his parade in Monrovia. He said he was testing the transmission of the opposition set, calling for President Weah, calling him a thief. We also see Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings was endorsed by a group known as the United Gribbles Association from 5 counties in the Southeast. Councillor Tiawan Gonglo is visiting the United States. At the same time, President Weah is out of the country for almost a month. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Joining me to discuss this issue, I have Mr. Jonathan C. Tayo Dolake, who is a member of the ANC. Mr. Jonathan Dolake, welcome to the show.
Thanks so very kindly, Dennis, for the opportunity given me today again to join my colleague, Choppy, and Comrade Mohammed.
We also want to welcome Choppy Charlie, aka Blowjay Nation, who is a seditious and supports President Weah's second term. Choppy, welcome to the show.
Sid, welcome again to be back on Focus, and hi there to the fellows and the listening audience, watching audience. Thank you.
Also want to welcome Mr. Ambula Mame, who supports the candidacy of Councillor Tiawan C. Gonglo. Mr. Mame, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be back to talk about the topics. They are interesting topics. Looking forward to a very good discussion, and hello to all the people in radio or Facebook, social media land that we'll be talking, interacting with.
And we are waiting for Mr. Laramai Yonton, who supports the candidacy of VP Joseph Nyuma Boakai. Welcome, share the show. Every time there are current issues, we invite people from various political backgrounds to discuss. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so the voice may not be as clear as you may expect, but we're going to have a show. Let's start like this. Let's go around the room. A lot of things happening in Liberia. We have all kinds of things going on. Let me start by going around the room. What's your sense of political activities in our country, Liberia? We want to talk politics now. Let me start with Mame. Just your general impression of what's going on in the country as far as the direction the country is taking in the politics of the day.
The economics of the country is quite bad. The economic of the country is appalling. It's going beyond, our expectation. It's going beyond what it should be because of obviously structural incompetence, of the managers of the country, of the economy specifically. So we see that the economy is bad. The people are suffering. Livelihood becoming to be a choice between living today and deciding on, what you will eat tomorrow. Regarding the politics, we see a lot of changes happening. Cummings is making inroads. He's making comments that are not originally associated with him. He's taking trends that making us to feel he's getting baptized into the politics. We see Prince Johnson shifting his move as usual as he does. How does that turn out? How was the implication for Weah? We see the U.S. government making emphasis on how people indicted or under sanctions should not be, people should not do certain kind of businesses with them. Green Johnson was indicted and placed on sanction because of political play and play, like receiving money from people for endorsement. So somebody who he will be endorsing might likely stand high chances of being also placed on sanction, because that's exactly why he was sanctioned for. We've seen all those things happening. Councillor Devon Gonglo has swept across Nima County. The message is resonating well with our people. The campaign for change, I mean, genuine change built on the foundation of anti-corruption, the rule of law, is gaining roots. So we see a bright future for Liberia outside of the George Weah leadership. That's what I can say.
Thank you. Let me go to Jonathan and give me a feel of what you're hearing from Monrovia and the whole country.
Thank you, Dennis, again. We continue to receive, appalling, lively condition of our people, ranging from insecurity of jobs, food insecurity, sanitation situation, and we are yet to see action. We are also following the standard bearer, the MDR, who has also made statement, and his statement has approbated or confirmed the U.S. Treasury Department sanction, that agreements that he went into with President Weah and the CDC are not being lived up to, and that have been the accusation from the Treasury Department. We are yet to see a committee being put into place to investigate the 3 sanctioned officials. We are yet to see the 3 boys that got killed as alleged, involving the Simosis situation, or the National Elections Commission logistician that went missing in Grand Jide County. It appears as though all of us Liberians have abandoned that person who worked tirelessly, endlessly to bring credibility to our electoral process. And President Weah travel against Count 13 of the travel ordinance for every official to travel for 7 days. Again, I just demonstrated in huge volume the problem at hand. Notwithstanding, we are still hopeful of the political process. That 2023, we have learned that the parliamentary process have given no objection to some other entities, but with 1 or 2 constraints. So we're looking forward to a credible elections that will involve everyone participation.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me ask Mr. Choppy Charlie from the ruling CDC.
Well,
Choppy, what's your take?
Yes, right now, Liberia, is this time of the year in the country, and not just in Liberia, but across the globe, where people are gearing up towards a festive season, as it's called. People are preparing for the holidays, celebrating, if you're Christian, the supposed birthday of Jesus Christ, and also preparing for the new year. These are some of the things going on. And then we also see the census is taking a leap. We have some hitches in recent time, but we see a turnaround with the census. It's taking a leap forward and it's moving. And then we also seen the political tension building up, which is normal because we are now moving into the 2023 electoral process. So we see everybody politically trying to come set up base. So we're looking forward to an interesting discussion tonight, and we're also looking forward to an interesting year, given that we are moving on to electoral season.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Of course, this is debate night, and we are going to debate the issue. It's always better that we discuss these things. So let's start with the issue of the president's trip. The president left Liberia for abroad November 1. He first went to Morocco, then Egypt, then France, and now he's in Qatar. He's asked the Senate for an extension. Let me start with Mr. Choppy Charlie. What is the justification for the prolonged trip of the president and his entourage, and do we know the cost?
Well, I don't understand the question of justification. I have disagreed with the legislature many times, but they have the power to prescribe these things. And I will have to ask the question. I understand some people have been quoting some laws in the country about some traveling laws or whatever. But at the end of the day, we live in a democracy, and democracy is governed by constitution, a constitutional democracy. And we've not seen any violations on the part of the president with his travel. So I will not look at it in the way as other people will be looking at it, because except they have to show real violation of the laws, and it has to go a due process. Then we can really examine that question properly.
What I'm saying is the trip, or a trip for a president and his entourage for almost 2 months, is it justified? Do we know how much it's costing the country?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, to justify it, we have to know the details. Most of these trips that president take across the world, the full description of delegates, cost function, and all of these things, I've not seen them display anywhere in the world, even in these great United States that we live in. Even president domestic trips, a lot of time you see half of that domestic trip is unknown to the public. Even if they make a report of the cost of that trip, a lot of times they will indicate that, for some other reason, whether national security or some other reason, they cannot disclose the actual distribution in terms of the breakdown of the president trip. So I would think Liberia will be no exception.
And we don't know the cost.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we have to look at Liberian laws to explain these things to us.
Mr. Dolake, is there any good reason, besides maybe someone being sick, for a president to be away for almost 2 months out of the country? And in the case of President Weah, you are in the opposition. Do you know how much it's costing the country?
Thank you, Dennis. And it is woefully shameful that the government, supporters, and machinery will not use this kind of opportunity given the government to market what the president of Liberia had chosen on his consistent vacationing of the country, to that of the return that should be a marching principle.
That was not a question.
I'm coming. I said you want to motivate me, but I think the question is meant to find out as to whether we have more intake from the visitation as opposed to the visitation given the duration. And I would think that with a 20 million budget given to the president, and approximately it is $869,855 for foreign travel, means travel daily subsistence $337,000, and the year is about to end. It must demonstrate clearly to us that those are the means by which the corruption takes place, because when the year is coming to an end, you want to absorb all of those areas that money are, and that is what money is placed there for. So I think the president just executed it to making sure that he drained down that budgetary allocation, because that's what it was placed in it for. I see less gotten back from that of the trip, because professional people who are expertise in specific role and foreign diplomat could do the same function. A country like ours should not be engaged in heavy travel against what will be getting back. We should be utilizing people who are expertise in different diplomatic enclaves to do those responsibilities on our behalf. That's what I think.
Thank you. Mr. Mohammed, same question. What is the justification for a 2-month-long trip by the president? I'm saying 2 months, I'm approximating, because this is he left November 1, and he's supposed to be back December 18. hoping that he doesn't request for another extension. And why will we not know the cost? Why is it not public that we can go somewhere and read what the president is going for, how much it's costing taxpayer, and all these things?
So the first clarification is, Choppy did not do justice to say that in the U.S., when the U.S. president travels, the itinerary is not public information relative to the budget.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Okay. I heard you saying where the president is going for security reasons, you don't need to say it. But if you say you didn't say it, then that's good. Then no need for me to emphasize it. But the point we're trying to emphasize is in the US, the president's itinerary is public information. You can Google it and find it. The meetings he having, who he meeting, when he will depart and go back home, when he will leave his home to get to the if he travels to his house, when he will get to the warehouse, who he will meet. Every 24 hours, the number of hours he's working in the day, the schedule captures everything to the time the president goes to bed. In Liberia, when our president leaves and travel, we don't know, we only hear about it. Where he's going, the details about his travel, we don't care. Nobody asks about it. When people ask about it, they call you names. But you're talking about a functional democracy, and the president leaves the country. And details about his departure, where he's going, we cannot easily verify it. But my point to this president's travel is calling on the legislature to investigate President Weah for lying under oath. We want the legislature to pay keen attention to investigating the president for lying under oath. This is a grave issue. People are not paying keen attention to it. The Paris Peace Forum that the president used as a justification for the extension of his trip. Official website. The Paris Peace Forum published a press release on their website that their forum lasted from the 11th to the 12th. The Paris Peace Forum published the list of head of states and nations, head of governments that were invited attendees of the forum, invited guests of the forum. They published their names, their profile is about more than 16 to 30 head of states and government. President Weah picture is not there. They published over 258 persons who attended, including the Minister of Information in Nigeria. Because he was an invited guest, his picture and profile is on over 350 person profile and pictures, categorized under different groups, including head of states and government, head of international organization, and other actors in global governance. President Weah picture is not there. But the president writes and says he's extending his trip by additional 7 days because the Paris Forum was extended from the 15th to the 18th. This calls for an investigation. I think the president is using the opportunity created in the vague opportunity created in our travel ordinances to spend time watching his son plays. And the reason is simple. The time the president is calling that he will return to Liberia is on the 30th. That is 1 day after America played her last game. So he's technically waiting in Qatar until the first phase of the tournament can end, and then he returns home. Because the first phase of the tournament, the last day for the US to play is the 29th. And he's saying he will be back on the 30th. But be that as it may, the critical point I'm raising here is the Paris Peace Forum is saying their forum lasted from the 11th to the 12th. Mm-hmm. They published the list of heads of states and government, heads of international organizations, and heads of other actors in global governance, their names and their profile, invited guests, over 200 of them, including as lower as a minister of information in Ghana who attended. Picture and profile is there. Nothing is on our website about President Weah. We are concerned what role is he playing in a forum that ended on the 12th, that is insisting he cannot go back to the country because the forum was extended. What critical role is he playing? Especially so the forum lasted for 2 days and he's writing officially to tell us that the forum was extended up to the 18th. This call for an investigation, and that's why we want to take the conversation regarding his stay abroad for 2 months.
Thank you. When you say the president lie on an oath, is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said. The president is on oath at all times to say the truth, to have written the legislature and said the Paris Forum was extended from the 15th to the 18th. And the Paris Forum official press release says it ended on the 12th. But more than stating at the time it ended, the forum listed all heads of state, heads of government, over 200 invited guests. President Weah's name, picture, and profile is not there. It calls for an investigation.
Thank you. And I want Charlie to respond, but Charlie, before Charlie, you can respond to that.
Yes. First, let me do some of the corrections. I said even in America, where the president budget is even displayed, I didn't even talk about itinerary. I said there are certain aspects of that budget that is not known, that is not detailed. We don't know about it.
Yeah, but Choppy,
yes. No,
what about the president?
I was just correcting my man.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just correcting my man. And then the another point brother Jonathan raises, he says that the president is trying to use the money that was in the budget for traveling before the year end. Suggests to me that the president there was already planned, from what I'm hearing from Jonathan, that is already planned and they have these things in the budget. So the president is not using any extra funding from anywhere. I mean, based on what he's saying. I need to learn and know that. So that's good information he's providing us. So it means that the president is not taking money from anywhere else, but rather taking money that was already packaged in the buckets. But and then the point there is that we need to know everything with the president trip, because America does that now. And this is the kind of a moral equivalency that we try to make in Liberia that just cannot stand. America, as a very advanced nation, have all of the instruments in place in terms of even protecting the president and doing a lot of other things that we don't even have. So whenever we try to make this comparison, especially on the fundamental level with institutional operations, administration, it really shows a big gap here. So the president, again, like I said, the questions that I wanted to be answered and I've not heard it being answered yet is whether the president was abusing his power, whether the president was doing something extraordinary. But I've not seen that the president communicated with the national legislature in keeping with the law. He got an approval in keeping with the law. And his trip is I mean, based on what we know as of now, the trip is legitimate because the process obtaining that trip or the process for any extension in keeping with the rule of law has been met.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why I was asking for the justification. Why would any president goes out of the country for almost 2 months? It's not a sick trip. What would be the reason for this president to do so? That you really think
the reason has been provided. The president said that he has some other engagement to attend other meetings and discuss some other bilateral issues that can bring a dividend to Liberia, especially in terms of investment. We have to wait to see when he returned whether these things will happen. We can't preempt to say that these things will not happen because he's still in the process of this negotiation. And even if it doesn't happen, it still does not mean that the trip is not valid. There are times that you go and negotiate for something, and maybe because of some conditions, those negotiations be successful or not. But the fact that he's working on behalf of Liberia, or he's trying to do something for the country, I think it means a lot. And that is why I want to look at it in terms of whether he's doing something for the country or he's doing nothing for the country.
Right, and we don't know yet. Mami, what does this trip say about the president and the government's priorities?
But the trip in itself is, the way to put it is, we can't wait and see. I will come to your question briefly. We can't wait and see what will come out of the trip, because the foundation on which the trip is being requested has been questioned. I just shared with you the press release from the forum. Dennis, you can put it up. I just shared with you the press release from the forum. The forum says they've started on the 11th and on the 12th. And you telling us that you stay longer time because you had to spend longer time to the forum. You said you are going to the forum to start to end on the 15th. But because the forum lasted to the 18th, 3 additional days, so you want to extend your stay in Qatar. That's the justification. And I am saying, the forum is saying this lasted from the 11th to the 12th. So the foundation on which you're requesting additional stay is questionable. But holding that as a may, if the people extended their stay, if they extended their program for 3 days, from the 15th to the 18th, you are requesting to extend your stay for 7 days. What sense does it make? So back to your question. So I just wanted to put
let me read that just for clarity. The 5th edition of the Paris Forum, which I attended in Paris, meaning it's gone already, was extended from November 15 to November 18, thereby necessitating an adjustment in my attendance as a guest of honor of FIFA at the World Cup Qatar from November 18 to November 30. And that's confusing, right? But
no, so basically he's saying he needed to have been in Qatar on the 15th. But because the program in the Paris Forum had to extend up to the 18th, so he spent additional 3 days in Paris and did not come to Qatar. So on that basis, he now extending his stay in Qatar. But the point is, Paris Forum, he alleging, was extended for only 3 days, but he is extending his stay in Qatar for 7 days. So that's not justification on the issue of number of days.
And Charlie, are you saying we have to wait and see when the president comes back?
No, but I think Dennis, on this one, I have to agree with you a little bit that the wordings is a little bit confusing, because to me, I'm not hearing that the president is saying that he's going to be in Paris for 3 days.
No, Paris was extended for 3 days. That's why you didn't go to Qatar earlier.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm saying. So the word is there. I'm reading it to be that, okay, the forum were extended, but I should have been in this place a quarter earlier. Right. But because of the extension now, I'm going to be in Qatar for this period of time. So I'm hearing that he's going to be in Paris. He's going to be in Qatar because Mami is saying that he's going to be in Qatar. He can be in Qatar and Paris at the same time. So he's going to be in Qatar or between the 15 and the 18 or whatever date it is. So, but I want to agree with you a little bit that probably the syntax there is such that we have to seek clarification. So to assume that he was actually, as Mama is trying to suggest here, that the president was lying, I don't think so, because we have to seek clarification for that particular phrase.
It's clear here, Chappie.
Termination.
Let me read it again. So he said he went to Qatar late, so he's extending his time from November 18 to November 30th.
Yeah, where is he staying that time? Is it in Qatar or in Paris?
In Qatar.
Yeah.
Hold on, Choppy. So
that's what I'm saying.
After that, he's going to go back to Monaco.
So that's why I'm saying that Mami is.
So he's going back to Monaco from November 30th to December 3.
But not for the Paris, not for the Paris conference.
Yeah, he said.
Not for the Paris conference.
He said, I have been invited to attend the 30th edition of the Peace and Sports International Forum in Monaco, France. has
Yeah, but that's what I'm
get
saying.
support.
So what I'm saying is that the way that Mama is explaining this thing,
No, what Mama is saying is
the president is
even
lying about
yeah,
going back to the Paris
no,
conference.
not going back. The first meeting he held in Paris, Mame is saying his name is not on the list, so he lied about that.
No. I mean,
let me say what I said. Let me
that's a
say what
different
I
thing. But he
said.
was saying that the president was lying on the
Let me
timeline
say
of being
what I
free.
said.
The
Let me
president did
say
not
what I
say
said.
something
All
like
right,
that.
hold on, Mame is here.
Let me say what I said. President Weah wrote the legislature. Go back to the first letter.
Thank you.
He wrote the first letter he wrote to the legislature was he was going to Egypt, I think Morocco, and to Paris, from Paris to Qatar. Now, in Paris, the reason for which he was going to Paris was to attend this peace forum that was ending on the 15th. That was the reason he was going to Paris. That will end on the 15th. After the 15th, he was going to Qatar, and he will have returned from Qatar on the 23rd. The second letter is saying he's extending his stay in Qatar from the 23rd to the 30th because the program in Paris was extended from the 15th to the 18th. That's his second letter. My point is, the program in Paris was never extended as per what is written as official press release from the program. The program official press release says it ended on the 12th. The president is saying the program was extended to the 18th, for which he had to stay additional days in Paris and he had to compensate for those days in Qatar. I am saying, I'll send you the press release, Dennis. I'll send you the link to the website. Read the press release. The press release says the program ended on the 12th. The president is saying the program was extended to the 18th. I am saying the president's statement against the statement published on the organization website has conflict. And that's why the legislature, who he requested this time from, must investigate. That's my point.
Thank you. Choppy, so I've put
I think hold
on, Choppy, want to bring Jonathan in.
Yeah, okay.
I put the link in here for our viewers to look at, and according to this, it reads, for the 5th consecutive year in Paris Peace Forum gathered the most important actors in global governance on November 11 and 12. The 2022 event focused on reading out the blah 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 blah. It goes on. Jonathan, is there still going on the priorities of the president and the government based on what does this trip tell you?
I was trying to pull the first communication, but I have not laid my hand on it, and so
it's clear.
Yeah, but the first communication, in that communication, the president did not also adequately inform the legislators about his engagement, in Qatar, and that raised eyebrow on one of the public platforms. That, and when Minister Toer was on the platform, he was trying to interpret what the president communication was to the legislator, and some of the people started to ask him quite critical questions, whether what he was saying was different from what the president communicated to the Liberian people through the national legislature. All that I can say here is that it took us time to realize, and in fact, as a matter of fact, the president communicators have not made it known how much is the budget, which is the public information. I think because of fear that the trip will not worth what it will bring back home. From all indications, then it's not to waste our time on this president travel. Like Amuda Mame said, the legislators should not seize the opportunity. All of the information, they are public information. I was just looking on the Paris forum, and they should march against the communication that the president has sent and take appropriate action in keeping with, the rules of the Senate and the governing process of our country. I think that's the most effective and functioning method that should be used. But for all indication, the president is consistently lying to us and giving reason why he will stay at an honoring program, which is just an event. An honoring.
Right.
Honoring will not be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Honoring will take a day and a specific timing. So if you will be honored from the 18th to the 30th, you should understand what the president is in Qatar for.
Mr. Dolake, will Mr. Honorable Nathan take up this challenge? He's your guy. He's your party chairman.
Yeah, as I speak to you, we are communicating effective based on
the
this
reason I ask that
conversation.
is because opposition has majority, right? So why these things?
Yeah,
passing?
so as Ambula had made it known, I am currently communicating with legislators to bring it as a conversation through a communication. Again, it is the choice of the pro tem per the Senate rule that will understand to introduce the conversation or to resist its introduction. So we will communicate with them and we hope that they can bring it out. It is at the appropriate time to be brought out now. The president can keep lying to us, saying one thing to us and explaining another thing.
Yeah.
All right, so Dennis,
Yes,
I just wanted to correct the records because if you look on the executive management website, they released about the president trip. As Mame is saying, the president said that he was attending the Paris Forum up to the 15th. The communication did not say that. It said, and I'm going to read it, said on November 9, 2022, the president departed Egypt for France for the Paris Peace Forum and other engagements from November 11 to 15. So it's a package engagement. It is not just one.
Read the letter the president wrote to the legislature. Read the letter the president wrote.
Let me finish reading it. Yeah, let me finish reading it.
The president wrote and signed.
Let me finish reading it now. Yeah, let me finish reading. It said, first, the president, we have participated in the Paris Peace Forum from November 11 to 12. So it's specific based on the exact time. And this is the executive management website I'm reading from.
Yeah, sure.
11 to 12. So the total engagement.
No, don't read executive management website.
No, it's okay.
That's for the president. That's for the president. I'm reading it from the president's office.
Hold on.
I'm reading it from the president's office. The letter here is saying that.
Hold on, Choppy.
Yeah.
The executive management say he attended the conference is from the 11th to the 12th.
12th, yes.
So, but now the president is saying it was extended to the 15th.
No, but I'm reading the original summary. It's not an extension. The original one said that the president for France for the Paris Peace Forum and other engagement from November 11 to 15. The 15th date, the date of the 15th was not specific to the Paris Club. That's what I'm telling you.
We agree.
The 15th date was inclusive of other engagement.
So the Paris Forum was for which date?
Yeah, but Mami, wait. Mami was characterizing the president as saying that he was only attending the Paris Club from the 11th to the 15th. That's not the case. The president, they said that Paris and other engagement will be between the 11th and 15th, but specific to the Paris Club, the first time it will be the 11th to the 12th.
Thank you.
So that's a correction. So
it's not a correction when you
not a correction.
No, I'm correcting you because you are giving the public information that the president lied that he was attending the Paris Club between the 11th to the 15th. And,
Mr. Choppy,
that is not what they said.
The president wrote saying, hey, I came to Qatar late because the Paris summit that I went for that should have been from the 11th to the 12th was extended from the 15th to the 18th.
That's the first time. I mean, that's the second time.
But they don't have two Paris conference.
No, I'm talking about the letter you read is the second letter. I'm talking about the first letter. Mami said that the president said he was attending between the 11th and the 15th. And it did not say that. That's what I'm saying. If you read even on the executive management website, it emphasized the time. It said, further, it must also be noted that following the chief executive representation at the forum, which ended on November 12th, it still echoed that forum ended on November 12th.
Choppy, I agree.
On November 12th.
So they want the president say extended from 15 to the 18th.
So that's a different thing. That's what I'm saying. That's
a different what? Is it a different conference?
Look, I I think we have to seek clarification from the legislature
No.
on this one,
All right.
because they extended the president time.
Okay, let's wait for the clarification. So
Yeah.
No, but Dennis,
But-
we can't allow him to go with that. You know, we on the show, we can't allow him to go like that. The topic for discussion was introduced to all of us at least 2 hours before the show. At least 2 hours. You come on the show, the president writes the legislature. I'm not talking about press release. Here is the president's letter to the legislature. He said the 5th edition of the Paris Forum Infra from November 9th to November 15, 2022. This is the president's letter that he signed and sent to the legislature. I will attend the 5th edition of the Paris Forum in Paris, France, from November 9th to November 15, 2022. Written by the president, signed by the president, sent to the legislature. The same president writes back and say, I want to extend my stay in Qatar because the Paris Forum was extended from the 15th to the 18th. But the Paris Forum is saying they hosted their event from the 11th to the 12th. The press release you just read from the Executive Mansion website corroborates what is on the Paris Forum website, that the president attended from the 11th to the 12th. It is the president's intention to stay in Qatar, and the communication he has written to support that contradicts the information on the Paris Forum and the information on the Executive Mansion website. The forum was never extended. It was conducted from the 11th to the 12th, as it is written on the Executive Mansion. It was conducted from the 11th to the 12th, as it is written on the Paris Forum website. The president's letter is disingenuous to tell us
We'll seek clarification from the legislature.
Choppy, I don't know which clarification you take.
We'll seek clarification from the legislature. They granted.
Hold on, Choppy, hold on. The president said the 5th edition of the Paris Peace Forum, which I attended, was extended from November 15 to November 18. Which clarification are you going to seek?
What I'm reading from the Executive Mansion is very clear. So I'm saying that because we're having this difference
on the Executive Mansion,
we want to seek clarification from the people who granted the president the privilege to travel, which is the legislature, because the Executive Mansion website is saying the president did attend the forum. The forum ended on the 12th. But the totality of that trip, according to the Executive Mansion, went beyond. It didn't just say only the Paris Forum.
No, let's
other engagement. It said other engagement. It said other engagement.
Chappie, let's stay on the Paris. The Executive Mansion website say the conference is 11 and 12. The letter the president is writing saying the conference was extended from the 15th to the 18th. Not even from the 12th. You know,
we will seek clarification from the legislature.
You can't scapegoat. You can't scapegoat. No, Dennis, wait. You can't scapegoat.
Hold on, mommy. Let Dolaka come in before.
Dolaka will come in. Dolaka, my brother. Let you give me 1 minute. You cannot scapegoat the legislature. The reason why you can't scapegoat the legislature is the president did not write the legislature to approve his travel. He writes to inform the legislature that he's traveling. So don't scapegoat the legislature and say they approve the president's travel. The president did not write for approval. He wrote to inform the legislature that he's traveling.
Thank you. We got to move on. Jonathan, this is the question, right? I keep hearing if the president brings something back, will everything that you have said, will it cancel out if the president brings home the bacon? I don't like to use Western word. So I will use, in my hometown, when a big hunter hunts, you kill an elephant, you bring him the tail of the elephant to tell, because you can't tow it home, right? You bring him the tail, and to hunt an elephant is the highest that you can do. So will everything cancel out if the president brings home the tail of the elephant? Everything you say now, will it not matter if the president brings in the goodie that you, Jonathan, you keep referencing?
To bring the goodies that Liberian as a whole are yearning for, is not a reason to violate on an oath your responsibility and lied in an arrant manner. This is the president communication. The approval that Choppy Charlie is requesting, it was done during the budgetary allocation. That is why I mentioned 20 million to the Ministry of State, 869,000 for travel means, $337,000 for travel daily subsistence. I mention it because it was the movement that it was approved. What the president had done is that he had informed the legislature about the priority that had already been captured in the budget. And so there's a voucher that will be raised to execute that function by the PFM law. If the president comes in his communication and lied on an oath and gave a misrepresentation of the fact when the Paris Convention realized from the 11th to the 12th, and the president is still doing his vacation and wanting to remain there on the Yekeh Cham Weah play up to the 29th, then it is deception, and it is what we refer to as perception of deception. In that instant case, the legislators, if they do not right to investigate why the president gave a misrepresentation of the fact, they would now be on the lawmaker's shoulders. But as it is, and per the face value of the communication the president has written, it is clearly demonstrated that the president lied to us on an oath, and he had just gone to do his vacationing.
Thank you. Choppy, same question. Is it about what the president will bring back? Because I kept asking you, what's the justification? So let's say if the president, whatever the president trip is going to yield in terms of monetary benefit to the country, would that make you feel good? Will it be a good justification?
I want to agree in part with Yekeh and disagree in part. I agree in part that what the president brings back does not justify a trip. He could bring back 100 million, 200 billion. He could bring back nothing. So it's not a matter of whether he will bring back something or not bring back something, because whatever he goes to negotiate for, he doesn't own it. There's no compulsion for him to be for that thing to be given to him. So he might get it or he might not get it. So I do agree that it does not justify a trip whether he brings that or not. So that's the part I agree with. The part I disagree with is that to imply or impugn that the president lied on an oath. I don't know where's the oath that the president was thinking about this trip, but generally speaking, it would be difficult to reason that the president would try to lie, especially when it's obviously clear, repeatedly have been stated in the public view, as the executive mansion website have stated, the date and time for the president travel is consistent with the group who invited him date and timeline. So why would the president, after repeatedly saying that based on the facts, told us the fact, would try to lie about the same fact that he repeatedly said? So I think we will get clarification from the legislature on this matter. They approve, and surprisingly, and not surprisingly, the legislature is dominated by the opposition. So we have majority of the opposition in the legislature. I would think if the president was really doing something terrible and the president was really lying, these majority opposition leader would not have granted the president this privilege. But I would think they saw some wisdom, and as a majority black in the legislature, they give the president the opportunity. Despite I disagree with them in the past, but maybe they have some valid reason on this one.
Choppy, I don't know what this got to do with the legislature, right? Because the president wrote, say, I'm going out this time. The president is writing and say, so the best person to ask to ascertain this will be the president, right? Why go to the House?
Oh yeah, I mean, the president retain, we can always ask for clarification, but like I said,
you're going to ask for clarification from the legislature.
Because they approve of it. To approve of something, you must have gained insufficient evidence.
I mean, the clarification should come from the president, right?
We can always
ask the president. You said you were doing this. Did you actually do this, right?
Yeah, we always ask the president for clarification. I'm not eliminating asking the president, but I'm saying that if the president said the facts as being displayed on the website, he gave us all the facts, which nobody had contested. If he said those facts, why would he then try to lie against himself? It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe the president would try to undermine his own credibility after he has said the facts. And what he's on the executive mansion website is consistent with what has happened in Paris or what happened in Paris. So why would the president undermine his own integrity and credibility by lying after he has said the truth? So I would concede to also ask him for clarification.
Thank you. Mami, why would the president lie? Why would the president, I mean, this is in a clear view. Why would the president Everything is there. Why would the president write a letter and say, hey, this was extended? What's the incentive here? And the same question, if the president bring back the world, will it cancel out everything that you have said concerning the trip?
So the president lie is not a strange thing. He has lied, several times and openly, embarrassingly lied. So for him to lie is not anything strange. The president sat on the no. I can share the video with you. You can watch it. And when I say these things, I say them because I research them. I don't just talk because I want to talk, right? The president sat in an interview addressing the nation and announced that he has a farm in Sino County that is producing food, and the food being used to feed the people of Sino. That's the president on a recorded interview, on his emphasis, on his call for people to pay attention to agriculture. He said he has a farm. The farm is producing, and the people in Sino are using it to feed themselves. That's lie. The president lied about his properties in Liberia. When the press secretary announced that it was for his son, he didn't comment. But when people in the U.S. decided to send complaints to IRS that this means a U.S. citizen and owning multi-million-dollar properties in Liberia, who will have damaged Champs Weah record. That's when the president came by and said, no, enough for Champs Weah for me. So he has a record of lying. He lied about owning farm in Sino County. Up to today, nobody can see the farm. Nobody hear anything about the farm. And he lied about his travels. So lying is not anything to say, oh, why would the president lies. He's on record of lying. So for him to lie for me is not strange. The only thing that is embarrassing is for Choppy to continue to rely and find scapegoat on the legislature. Choppy, you can read and comprehend the president did not read the legislature to approve his travel. He said, I read to inform you that I'm traveling. Why do you keep scapegoating the legislature to say they approve his travel, they have information about it? Why you can be, why people who support Weah are not brave enough to talk to Weah? This man wrote his own letter and say, I'm writing to inform you that I'm traveling. And then you sit on the show and say the legislature approve it, they might have investigated and have all the facts and evidence before they approve his travel. They did not approve his travel. Speak to Weah directly. Nothing will happen to you. But to your final question about whether when he brings home something, I don't expect the president to just travel today and come back tomorrow and bring back our money or investment with him. It's not practical. It's not real. So I don't expect anything like that. What I expect, though, is when the president travels and attend these meetings, the role he plays in these meetings give us clue of the potential benefit to our country. The seat he sat in, the table created, the platform created for him to speak, the message he sends across on those platforms give us hope of a potential benefit. But to the Paris Forum, we didn't see. For the 11 and the 12, we didn't see what the president did there. We didn't hear what he did there. We went on the Paris Forum website. All their invited guests, presidents and head of state, the list is over 100. The president is not there. So it gives me a clue of nothing potential coming to the country from the president visiting Paris Forum. You go to Qatar. He said he was invited. He said he was invited by FIFA. For all that happened in Qatar, it gives me no clue. It gives me no clue of a potential benefit to the country. And I will say to the president, like he's happy today watching his son Champs play, and we all celebrate. Parents in Liberia who have their children play for Liberia national team want to see their children play at the World Cup. It is the responsibility of the president to develop soccer in Liberia so that the parents in Liberia too can see their children, and not only Weah can see his son. That was just my message, and regarding calling the president to see it beyond his son. We celebrate him. He played.
Thank you, Mame.
But Liberians too, parents in our country want to see their children play for the national team in the World Cup. It is the president's responsibility to develop the soccer to the extent that they play in the World Cup. To not do that is a failure.
Thank you. I wrote a Facebook post saying maybe that's why they don't invest in those areas, because they don't use them. I mean, if your son is playing for USA, then you don't want to develop Lone Star. If you are not sending your kids or your wife to JFK, you don't want to make it, a functional hospital. But let's go to the census. After many years of postponement, and then there was forced start on that Friday, the census now is ongoing, right? So what does this say, or Charlie? I mean, shame to opposition people to trying to do this, right? So the census is on our way. Does this really give us hope? That yes, the government has made some corrections, and we expect to see census being complete on time ahead of the elections. What's your reading where we are with the census so far, Mr. Charlie?
Well, I think corrections are always positive things to do in any situation. So the fact that the government is able to turn the corner on the census, and now we've seen a different management program for the census, inspire hope that the census will be successful. And we need that to be successful because like everybody who is known in the country, big player, political, whatever, have said that these census should never be politicized. It should never be weaponized for political basis, because it's critical to us understanding our whole national development program. So while we recognize the hitches, the challenges we had in recent time for the census, we are moving forward, and the country is going to achieve that. And then at the end of the day, we can use whatever comes out of that process to remake our country.
Mr. Dulaka, have we turned the corner when it comes to the census?
Dennis, they say if the Christmas, our people say if the Christmas will be good, you would know the Christmas from the Eve. It is quite appalling that during the days of Dr. Liberty, who was then the head of of Legis, they demonstrated some high level of maturity, responsibility, and accountability in that field. And all of the processes leading to 2008 census that some of us participated in as much as it was not digital, but it was very organized. Every step along the way was well executed, unlike what we are having currently. It is not our place as opposition to be against the conduct of census, because it exposes us to development areas of hiccups and how to strengthen those areas in terms of our economic performance and attracting investment. But as the census got on the way, it met so many challenges, many of whom were self-created because of the lack of transparency. We have listened to all of the stacking revelations and how people from different entities are receiving PR money when the very institution has a responsibility to conduct PR. In the days back, the jingle were played in the very vernacular. The very religious leader actors in the country participated in it fully. This time around, our neighbors have provided those gadgets for us. We saw enumerators seizing them because of the mismanagement of the census. So we are hopeful that it should be something genuine, but from all assessment, we can see that the margin of error will be high as compared to what was conducted 2008 in a manual manner. So that is what I can say about that.
Right. Mr. Mame, the census, are we out of the woods yet?
I'm optimistic. For me, I like data. I like informed decision making. I hope we are out of the woods with the census. I hope we can, move forward with it. That's my hope. But I don't expect it to be a successful, census. The way it started, the historical incompetence of the government, the people the president trusts to run these things, it tells you that we have a structural problem. It runs from the president down to the people he, tasked with responsibility. The heads of the census, the people he provided, the people he entrusted to manage it, the way they coordinated it, with all the noise from the different stakeholders and other international actors of corruption and stuff like that. I'm not optimistic that we'll get something good out of the census. I think most of what is happening now is just window dressing. The donor has spent a whole lot of money. They are diplomats. They cannot come out and talk about it. They themselves don't want the census to fail, because when it fails, it has a reflection on them. So they're doing all their best to see how they can get it started and get it working. But to what the government will need to do is to, Weah need to come back to himself, drop his ego. It has happened already. Announce another census day. Census all around the world are conducted. Most of the counting are done on a single day, and that is a census day. Our census day, we miss it. People did not count. So we want the president to call another proclamation so people can stay home, businesses can be closed, so we can be able to do the census and do it right. If they don't want to do that, extending the time to January will still not help. But post-census, I got a post-census view. Now, my post-census view is, and we're building consensus with different stakeholders and different actors to see how we can engage the government, engage the stakeholder on this position.
Mami, hold that thought. I will come back to you for post-census.
Okay.
I want to go to Mr. Charlie. Mr. Charlie, we said that it goes back to the president's trip. The president was not in the country when he announced Census Day. So the day everybody's supposed to be home to be counted, he wasn't there. He was absent. The president is also absent during the CDC, his party convention. What's going on here? What is so important in this, some people call it safari, that the president is missing everything?
Well, the census, again, like we said, is a non-political issue. The president is the most known figure in the country that no census can miss, whether he was present or absent. But we've seen big programs across the world, and this is not an excuse for why the census had the problem it had. But we've seen big programs across the world. Begins with a major crash. We saw the Obamacare crash in America when it began, despite years of planning, organizing, in advanced country like America. But it's not an excuse for what happened to Liberia and the census. So the good thing about the census now is that lessons have been learned from the recent problem that occurred with the census, missing the timelines and the management team and all of that. The president himself took some very strong actions, telling you how much seriousness he attached to the census program by removing the top management team of the census. And now we have a new team managing the census. And we've seen that the decision the president took also shows the kind of leadership we want any president to take, that when things are not going right, you should own that problem and try to fix it. And the president did own the problem. He did try to fix it by removing those actors who poorly managed the problem. And now, as a result of taking that tough decision, we've seen a movement towards progress in the census process. So I think failure itself does not eliminate good leadership, but how one can remove that failure to something positive is a sign of good leadership. And that's why we see happening now, that the president was able to step in the sanction debacle, and now moving forward, the sanction is moving, that people can see what is happening in the country.
Yeah, speak to the absence from the CDC convention.
Well, the CDC convention, one of the things we have to understand, as an emerging democracy like Liberia, I know it's very difficult. We are
Why
used
you
to.
call Liberia emerging democracy? We've had democracy since 1847.
Yeah, I mean, we're still practicing. We have not reached our full potential yet as a democratic state. But one of the things I think we've continued to have in our country is the big man idea, the chieftaincy idea, or the honorable idea that once this big man is not around, democracy should not proceed. Democracy cannot occur. And one of the things in the CDC that has happened over the time frame is that the party itself, as a democratic party, does not depend on the individual to determine what the party is going to be. So whether the president was present, the president is not the chief administrator of the party.
He's the standard bearer.
Yeah, he's standard bearer, but he's not the chief administrator of the party. The party has an executive committee who is chaired by we have a chairman and other officials. These are the people who run the party on a day-to-day basis, not the president. And so whether the president was present in the country or he was absent in the country, he was not going to be the one to decide how the party moves or what the party does. He does have his view. His view is highly respected as a leader of the party, but it doesn't mean that the party just follow whatever he says. So the fact that he was absent and the party is able to take a decision and move ahead and conduct a good program with all noise, we didn't hear any kind of negative feedback in the public square, shows indeed that the party is able to function on its own.
Jonathan, a party convention without a standard bearer.
Yes,
Is saying you don't need standard bearer for the convention to happen, and this in fact shows that the CDC is strong.
I mean, it's not. It is CDC. They decide what they want to do, but I think having a standard bearer to a convention adds flavor to it. But it is their calling. What I grab from the convention is the statement issued by the party that the convention, the primary was peaceful and harmonious, and the 7th convention, November 21st, was peaceful and harmonious. And I think they were speaking from the backdrop that most of the time the primary or the convention have been a bloody, bad convention. And so we hope they can do better. It is the boys in that court. I see a unity of personalities who want to protect their own, and so it is what it is. I got nothing much to say about it.
Mr. Mame, your post-census view.
Yeah, my post, because I don't want to comment on the fast of a convention that was held, but my post-census view is, we need to look at and approach democracy in the way that it gives us more returns than what we spend on it. We need to contextualize our democracy to be able to manage the costs of running that democracy. We are building consensus with stakeholders. We like the data that will come from the census. It's important to inform development planning. We're building consensus with stakeholders to engage the government and international partners, including you guys in the media, that the result of the census should be used only for development planning, but not for the allocation of additional seats in the legislature. That is our post-census view, that we're building consensus around stakeholders to engage the government on. The results of the census should be used for development planning, but not for the allocation of additional seats in the legislature. We're spending so much money on running the legislature and not investing in our people. The returns for having those people in the legislature is diminishing over time. So instead of us increasing the cost of running the legislature, we should allocate money to address specific problems in rural places and invest in our people.
Thank you. Let's move forward.
Can I just
we want to move on to the next one.
Out of the way Mame said, he makes a very important point. And this is just my own view. I think what needs to happen is we need to increase the threshold, the population threshold for constituency. That would be the point. We don't need to add additional seats to the legislature. We already have too many seats. I would even be talking about reducing the number of seats in the legislature. So, but we can reduce it at this point. But what we're going to do is increase the threshold. So if we have 10,000 people in one constituency and the number of population increases, then we should increase the number of constituencies from 10,000 maybe to 15,000, as opposed to adding more legislative seats, because we actually need money for development, not to pay legislature. So I do agree with that point.
Thank you.
We'll recruit you on the team.
I want to play a tape and then we'll get your response.
We will go for him. So we are on our way. We go to Qatar. We will go for him. So we are away. We run away. So we are going to Qatar. We will go for him. So we are run away. We go to Qatar. We will go for him. So we are run away. We go to Qatar.
Judge, we are on the way. Judge, we are the road. We were talking. Yekeh was talking. This was a parade by Honorable Yekeh Koluba, lawmaker, and while the president was out. Is this free speech? Or will you say it's unbecoming of a lawmaker? Or Yekeh is the one, doing the dirty work for the opposition? What's your take? Let me start with Mommy. What's going on here?
When we get closer to the political process, we'll see a whole lot of these things, happening. People trying to make other candidates unpopular. We'll see these things. For me, I'm the type of person who I believe the way to change the country is to use people in the legislature and in government. Fortunately for Yekeh, he's there. But unfortunately for us, the agenda they should be pushing to change the country, those agendas are not being pushed. For example, the president lied. There's contradiction in the president's communication on his stay in Qatar and stay. The role of that legislature, instead of running on the street and saying, we are run away, we're talking, is to rally the consciousness of his colleagues and say, hey, this something is happening. The president is telling us that he wants to stay in the place for 18, up to the 18 because up to the 30th because the program that he went to was extended. But I have evidence that the program was not extended. Let's investigate and get to logical conclusion. The problem with the legislature and people in the legislature is they initiate these investigations just for the news purposes. Once they take the headlines and the front pages of the newspaper, the rest is done. Nothing happens. So it's a political campaign. He's doing it. He's making his base active. But to be able to address the problem that we have, especially with the president traveling and spending up to 2 months, the way to address it is to address it through the proper means. He has that authority as a lawmaker. He has that power as a lawmaker. If I was sitting in his seat, I would not be on the street telling people we are run away. I would be investigating. In fact, I would be writing the center that we are went to give me official communication beside the press release on their website about the state to initiate my investigation on the president travel. I wouldn't be on the street, chanting, we are run away, we are run away. But that is what he chose to do. I wouldn't do it because I don't think that is a sustainable solution to the problem we face.
Mr. Dulake, this is he's been a member of your party. He was recruited by Mr. Cummings on the Cummings campaign team 2023. Lately, he resigned, and now we see him in the street. We had a role. He run away. He's in Qatar. One may think that even though the two coming side by side may not have correlation, but at the time he came out of this ANC, he's in the street. Is it by design that he becomes the loose cannon, something that the ANC and other opposition parties could benefit from?
What I would say is that we have all followed Yekeh a number of times. He has complained about communication that he has sent to the legislature, specifically the House of Representatives. and those communications had not made it to the floor of the House of Representatives plenary. He has spilled out his frustration. We all can bear him witness that his homes have been attacked on so many occasions, where an assistant minister of justice was recording instead of calling for police backup, at least to protect a Liberian citizen. And he had done auto complaint. At the end of the day, his family had moved to Ghana or Qatar or Dubai, what do you call? And his family currently live in exile. Even at the airport, he was restrained in some instances. So I think it is more of a frustration that the legislators do not have the ball. When I say the legislators, I'm speaking of the House of Representatives that Yekeh comes from, to take into consideration some of his grievances that he has put on pen and paper.
You may want to use another word instead of balls.
Eh?
So you may want to use another word instead of balls.
Okay, thank you. They may not have the courage,
Okay.
to listen to their colleague complain about issue of national concern. And I think it is a form of frustration that Yekeh is putting out there. What is important for us to know historically is that Representative Edwin Snow was removed. Since other people on the comment section talking about the president is now on an oath. When you take the oath, as of the day you take the oath until the day you retire, you are on an oath. So every action of you should be in conformity with the oath you took to protect and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. Representative Snow put people who were non-Liberian on a trip of a legislature, and that resulted to his removal by the legislature. So, President, we are communicated on an oath about a specific thing. I mean, it is just clear indeed that they have given reason that people are angry, especially when the ordinance has said that every Liberian official should stay out of the country for 7 days, and so it just say much to us. But I can't say otherwise about Yekeh. Yekeh is frustrated. That's the bottom line. The
Right.
sustaining aspect of the conversation should be with the legislator now. And as I'm speaking to you right now, I've communicated that officially to my party, Legislative Caucus, and they should use all of the information made available to quiz President Weah, because it is that right under the Constitution.
So when we see Honorable Yekeh Koluba in this action, is this something that the ANC will condemn or encourage, acquiesce, or what? I want to see something from the ANC concerning what Yekeh is doing.
From the ANC angle, the Alternative National Congress will always approbate peaceful Liberian assembly and engaging her government as to requesting what the government responsibilities should be. And we will acquiesce, Liberians, generating that momentum to demonstrate that the president is lying on an oath, they are dissatisfied and expressing it. But the sustaining aspect of the argument is for the lawmakers now to run with it through the legislature, like Ambla Mohammed said, communicate with the Paris Peace Forum, and obtain the communication the president have sent to the Liberian people. Remember, it was not just the legislator the president sent that communication to. He sent it to the Liberian people through the legislator. That's why I wanted to communicate.
Thank you. Choppy.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me ask you first. What Yekeh is doing is purely out of the playbook of the CDC. In fact, the opposition is not doing enough when you look at what CDC did when they were in opposition. So what Yekeh is doing is purely from the playbook of the CDC. In fact, it's not even enough if you look at what you did when you were in opposition. What's your comment?
Well, and this is why I think one has to give this government some credit and celebrate this president in terms of democracy. We can look at Yekeh behavior from two perspectives. One, from the democratic perspective, we all can celebrate that Liberia as a country, can have free expression. Citizens can get on the street and say things they want to say, whether derogatory against the president, and they can go home and have a good night's sleep. That is one of the reasons that all of this political struggle was all about over the last maybe 40 years in Liberia. So I think the opposition needs to celebrate the president on this one, give the president a lot of props. That's good governance. That's good leadership. They always say when the president does something good or the government does something good, they're going to celebrate it. We want to hear them commending the government and the president for allowing such a free expression and free association on the streets of the capital of Monrovia. The second thing we can look at is draw a sharp contrast between the Unity Party, Joseph Boakai Unity Party, who, if the 12 year in power, you talk about the CDC, and so that has to come up. The CDC was not giving that kind of freedom, even as the CDC attempted to do that many times. There were bloody clashes because the brutal force of Joseph Boakai Unity Party police attempted to prevent citizens from expressing these democratic values, and they will use the instrument of force, warfare, on the peaceful citizen. And so that contrast, again, draw us to the point of this president. And that contrast also shame the Unity Party and other opposition people who trying to aspire for the presidency. That is a scary past that we cannot allow the Unity Party to come any closer to the Liberian presidency because we have moved the ball forward. The country is moving forward. We are enjoying a different space. We are on a democratic atmosphere, and we don't need people with violent tendency, nation records to come and assume power in this country.
So will you also celebrate Yekeh for at least doing an inch of what CDC did?
Well, I mean, it's not even for me to celebrate. I'm celebrating the fact that he can do that on the CDC government. I mean, we want all citizens to have freedom of expression, and once he's not engaging in violence, I don't have to celebrate his behavior. I don't agree with his behavior.
Why? Why you don't agree?
I don't agree with his behavior, but I respect his rights. I respect his right, but I don't agree with his behavior. I mean, as a lawmaker,
what is your disagreement?
My disagreement is that a lawmaker should be more of a responsible person who he's not an ordinary citizen in the country. He have access to power. He can use access to power. I'm hearing that Yekeh Koloba has written letters. Look, a single lawmaker on his own has an independent authority to call for his own hearing, to summon an official of government to understand what is happening in the country. Have Yekeh exercised that oversight responsibility? No, he's never done that. He has only been interested in jumping on the streets. So I respect him as an individual. I respect his rights to celebrate. I respect the fact that he's very critical. He's speaking out. Those are all good qualities we want to see people in any democracy do. I respect that. But that is where I stop. He needs to use his leverage. The opposition are in the majority, and this is something that we're going to keep hammering. Why should the opposition be in majority in the legislature and complain about the governance? They are directing the governance system. It is just that the president has been very careful and he has been able to ensure that citizens get some goodies. Otherwise, this opposition would not have allowed the country to be better off.
Thank you. Well, for some time now, people are calling on Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings, saying they have criticized him for not having a base. The response we got from members or some members of the ANC was having a base was a code word for tribalism, ethnicity. Over the weekend or this week, we saw Alexander Benedict coming in Claratown celebrating with his fellow members of his ethnic group, the Gribbles. According to what we learned, the United Gribbles Association from 5 different counties, Sino, Maryland, Grand Cru, River G, came together and endorsed Mr. Cummings in Claratown. We have a video here, thanks to our friends at Jala TV, who provided us the video of Mr. Cummings dancing the Tokla. Even though he tried to dance it like he was dancing Sweet Mother. You don't dance.
Tell you that today evening is a great one. And I want to capture Louis Brown from the back. Louis Brown is going to grab. from the back. Louis Brown is also dressed up in his rapper. Louis Brown is also dressed up in his rapper. Yeah. Louis Brown is also dressed up in his rapper. Holding his stick.
Mr. Tyler, does Mr. Cummings have a base now?
You get it, man?
Yeah.
From time to time during the electoral process, the electioneering process, you will see endorsement of different group of people. And if one will consider it as a base, we will be unable to restrict such person. But what we know of is that we are reaching all nooks and corners of the country. We will see different group of people endorsing Mr. Cummings based on the different priority lines and what they think he's capable of doing. So the group of people have just done theirs as a way of agreeing to the many problems that we have been questioned about. There are too many difficult situations that our country has been facing, and that's why people are now endorsing political candidates. And so the group of people just did theirs.
Right.
And we will not.
Let me hold you there. Mr. Cummings did not go to the group of people like going to any political bloc. He went there because that's his ethnic group, right? So during the ceremony, you could hear, "Hey, you say the man that I'm Grebo man." So he's doing that purposely because he's Grebo and want to show that if your house doesn't sell you, the street will not buy you. So talk to me. He is among the Grebo people, and is, according to some members of the ANC, this is to show that the Grebos are behind their son.
Yeah, and again, you said it right to say that if the house doesn't sell you, the street will not buy you. I think they are now at a one point in time, 2017, he came second in Maryland County, and in most of the Southeast region, he had low votes. And so if they are seeing him demonstrated leadership over the period of time and they believe in his ability, they have now decided to endorse him. And so he has just gone to one of the many endorsements that will be taking place, even including people who are now from a tribal group who have seen his leadership ability, and he will graciously grace the occasion if it was an endorsement too.
Mr. Charlie, does this send a shockwave through the CDC camp that indeed the Southeast is split, or big deal?
Well, it's always refreshing when people begin their political career from home. But I think Cummings missed this opportunity in 2017, before the elections, when he embarked on his journey. And going now to these people, raises all kinds of questions that one can ask. But we're not in the mind of Mr. Cummings, and neither are we in the mind of those people. But we were still right in hysteric to that moment, seeing him dressed in a traditional garb of the Grebo people. I mean, I'm a strong advocate for cultural celebration, for cultural, growth and all of that stuff. So I always like to see people, promoting our own African culture, wherever tribe you come from. But it raises a lot of political questions that we have to see what unfolds over a period of time to really make a determination of what that means for Mr. Cummings, because we did not see his association with the Grebos, despite the Grebo being the third largest tribe in the country, since he got involved in this process. So I'm very skeptical about his affiliation with the Grebo at this point, but we'll wait to see what happened.
And Jonathan, let me come back to you, because it seems that he has kept the Grebos at arm's length so that he won't appear tribalistic. True? False?
We have to follow the track record of the data. Sometimes people go to the track record, sometimes they resist the track record of the data. Mr. Cummings came third second in Maryland County by the numerical figures. He had always said repeatedly that this thing is not about tribe, it is not about religion. And that doesn't mean that people will not endorse you. It just means that the form of governance will bring on board everyone participation, and, to tap into their different expertise. So he had not really kept the Marylanders at arm's length as it would be perceived. He had just had different priority and trying to bring all Liberians on board to make the thing work effectively, efficiently, based on the breakdown of systems and the wanton stealing of resources by this current government. I think that's why the people are getting frustrated, because the Grebo people and the Southeastern or women elected President Weah in good faith, but I think that good faith has been betrayed, and he outsourced his responsibility. That's why they're trying to transfer that vote to another and a resourceful person who can deliver on their behalf.
Did I hear you say the Grebels have not been his priority till now? Or that was or you misspoke?
That the Grebo had not been his priority?
Yeah.
No, I didn't say the Grebo had not been his priority. I was saying that.
All right. I thought you said other priority. Okay, let me go to Mame. Mr. Mame, during this election, Mr. Boakai has not visited the Southeast, and I have seen most of the surrogate bomb of the Southeast and kind of, in a way, concede it to President Weah. What do you think Mr. Boakai should be learning from the playbook of Mr. Cummings? I mean, even if you don't go to Southeast, you can still visit West Point, Nickeltown, Claratown, and other areas where they are predominantly Southeasterners. He hasn't done that.
So the thing is, in politics, you play to your strength, and in everything, not only politics. But since we're talking politics, you play to your strength. Boakai, the Unity Party, historically, have not been very strong in the Southeastern region. Ellen tried a whole lot during the second time to pull some numbers, and she did that. Basically, I think she defeated Winston Tubman in Maryland. She defeated in Sino. She defeated in average on the Southeast. She defeated Winston, and she did that because she invested significantly and attracted investment. The different plantations and stuff she took to the Southeastern region, mining companies, they employ the people. She used that as a way of, getting on the ground. So Boakai, as an opposition leader, is trying to mobilize his base first before he can start to go to places where, he doesn't have a whole lot of strength. That's exactly what Cummings is doing. Cummings is trying to mobilize his base going towards 2023. When Weah gets ready, Weah will go to Nickeltown and West Point and all those places where he considered to be his base. So everybody playing to their strength. Cummings, the only shift, schism in what Cummings is doing is there's a little bit of political baptism that is happening with Cummings. When he came first, he tried to treat politics like reading from the script. That's not politics in Liberia. He tried to push the idea of not having a specific numerical identity, a specific tribal lineages. He did not try to identify with that, in as much as he recognized and realized at the time that, he's from the Southeast, he's from the Grebo tribe. He did not try to identify with them in a way that it would present him as a tribalist. But now he's realizing that that was a political miscalculation, that he needs to do it. And that's why he's doing it. So it's kind of a flip-flopping. And the flip-flopping for me, I think, as a result of learning in the process. I listened to him in Canada, giving an analogy that, the people cannot be on this side and you be on this side and you provide leadership. You need to come together and then you provide leadership. So basically, he was responding to concerns about, building alliances and people who are indicted by war crimes and stuff like that. And he was saying these are people we need, to provide leadership. We can't despise them. We can't push them away. We can't drive them. We need the criminals to vote for us. But our leadership will be a one built on the principle of transforming these people's lives rather than using it as a tool, for continual destruction. So everybody playing to their bases, Cummings mobilizing his people, He will eventually go into Lofa County, he will go into Nimba, he will go into Bon County, but he tried to at least mobilize his base. Waka has been doing the same thing. I saw him the other time. He went, I think, iron factory or chicken soup factory where they got a whole lot of very huge Kisi community because they're mobilizing his base. So everybody will pay attention to their bases, mobilize their base. So the saying say it's better to hold in your hand what you have strongly enough to go and look for what you need. So Waka is holding into his hand what he has to go eventually in the campaign period to get what he needs. Comey is trying to hold tight his base. You don't want to call it base or whatever you call it. He's trying to identify with his lineage in a better way than he did in the previous election, hold that into his hand, and then move in the political process and see how he can get from other places. So everybody playing to their bases and to their strength.
Mr. Charlie, and the same kind of similar question, because it is not that VP Boakai is waiting to go to the Southeast later. People on his side, they speak ill of people in the South. Some people, members of his, some of his surrogates. In fact, some of them are saying, there's nothing there. We don't need the Southeast. And so even though, according to Mame, President Salif with Boakai had, got some good numbers from that side, but he has been looking the other way.
I think Boakai's situation is not about politics. The late Chab was a Bromskin, is actually so be in peace, described Boakai in not so favorable terms. And we've seen Boakai demonstrate that description, practicing tribalism. So Boakai disinterest in the Southeast is not from a political point of view. We saw the last elections, only Lofint deeply voted for Mr. Boakai. And we saw her very tribalistic if the 2017 elections when Boakai was running for president. His group, not the Unity Party, but he had his JB friend, they were very, very tribalistic across the country, preaching raw, bitter, crude tribalism. And so I don't, and that's what makes Boakai a very toxic person to be president for our country, because he's going to create chaos. And we've seen that. Watch Mr. Boakai in Unity Party. Upon assuming that party leadership in 2017, we saw the party goes into crisis where their own leader, who has promoted their party for 12 years, Madam Salif, though we have every disagreement with her politically, we saw how she was treated by Mr. Boakai. Then we saw Mr. Boakai assuming the leadership of the CPP, and we saw that organization go into chaos. This is a man who is always surrounded with chaos because he's very divisive, and he has his whole political character has been one where it seemed that he just wants to benefit from the public purse, milking the public treasure, and we've not seen him giving back, even to his own people in Lofa County. Even to his own people. Right now, he's going to visit the Gisi people in Maserati, not because he believes in them or want to help them. He had 12 years as vice president. His budget, Joseph Boakai budget, even during one of the greatest disasters in the country, during the heat of Ebola, the vice president budget was more than the whole of Lofa County healthcare budget. And yet Boakai did not have the courage to even assist his own county. But he believed that he deserved to continue milking the public treasure. And that's why he's going now to the Gisi people. But look, Gisi Glen in Gisi Kingdom, what has he done for those people? Nothing. He has only been taking and taking and taking. So I don't believe that his calculation is based on politics. But it's crude tribalism. And let me just end on this point. We've heard from the Unity Party a lot of time characterizing the CDC as a Southeastern form of government, and they try to list some of the officials, the president, the speaker, the pro tem, and that. But during the period of Joseph Boakai Unity Party governance, we had the president from the Western region, the Northwestern region, the vice president for the Northwestern region, the pro tem for the Northwestern region, the speaker for the Northwestern region, and some of the key cabinet positions were all for the Northwestern region. But we never heard people saying that government was a Northwestern regional government, because people on the other side did not care about the tribalism. We're looking at government performance. But now that Joseph Boakai United Party is attempting to come back to power and bring him to the presidency, we are now seeing his people preaching tribalism.
Thank you.
Such tribalism that they benefited from in the past. Dangerous politics from Joseph Boakai.
If you are just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. If you want to be part of the conversation, call the number on your screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Mr. Dulake, let me go back to Mr. Cummings. I mean, within a month now, we saw Mr. Cummings recruiting his team that included, people that were, fighting. Some who are on the TRC list as alleged perpetrators and war criminals or economic criminals. We also saw Mr. Cummings, and he said, well, we need both the good and the bad to make the government. We saw him the other day, not that anything wrong with it. He was in the mosque sitting on the floor as if he can meet the people outside. Now we see him in Claratown dancing Toklo, just like you dancing Sweet Mother. Is Mr. Cummings trying so hard, to be really what or who he's not? Or is this naturally coming to him? Because these things look like, to me, try and error. He's kind of trying things. Or is it really how he plans his campaign?
Firstly, whether we in Liberia, in America here, or elsewhere in the world, when our cultural heritage, we are invited to our cultural heritage, it is our responsibility to honor it, whether we are in presidential campaign or not. It is also our choice to resist it if we deem it fit. But the repercussion as traditional people, we also understand how far it will keep us away from the people if we reject it. That's one aspect. So it's not particularly just about campaign election. Mr. Cummings, secondly, had come to Liberia, retired, and had resident in Liberia, and had chosen to do business and activities in Liberia. He had not been a fly-by-night politician. He kept engaging the government, and he had made several statements about those engagement and the way to move about. The mosque, again, is a requirement that if you get at the mosque, you have to be ushered in, given the specific, and I think that's what he has followed. The crux of the matter for Mr. Cummings as to whether he's adapting to those things or is coming naturally is a result of meeting the people to where they are. And, whether be it people who have decided to support him voluntarily on his team Cummings, which is not a campaign team because he cannot form a campaign team outside electoral guidelines. It will be a violation. And I think that volunteers who have come together, and in their volunteering, they also have agreed that, while economic crime is a priority, there were people who committed atrocity, there were people who bamboozled the economy, and there were people who were also lied on. So under his leadership and given his style of leadership, they think that they can find justice under his leadership, and they are prepared to unveil themselves. But what is key in this conversation, for which presidential candidates, including Ambassador Boakai and Councillor Gonglo, though I prefer Mr. Cummings, but I still feel that apart from Mr. Cummings, either of the two persons are qualified and competent enough to deal with the governance of our process, except that I believe that Mr. Cummings has the energy and he's well prepared at this time to deliver. But the key issue in our country now is we have just realized that one Samuel Kwame Abeke, who is bearing a diplomatic passport of our country, who claimed to have been working with the West African Monetary Agency was Istanbul Airport, and then he committed suicide. How is that to our country image? how can we correct those measures that every now and then will be involved into passport scandal, which is darkening the reputation of our country? 100 million drugs will arrive in our country and the investigation so slow. Those are things that galvanizing the momentum of the ordinary Liberian people in different segments. And you will see them endorsing different political leaders and standard bearer over the period of time based on the failed leadership of President Weah, who are chosen to be vacationing while Liberians are struggling in poverty and cannot find their own bearing.
Thank you. Let's bring in our callers now. The first one here is Elvis Morris. Elvis, you are live. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jack. I wanted to stress on this whole issue with JMB and this whole rhetoric. We hear more and more, even coming from representatives, like people like Larry Yekeh and people like that, who are always stressing on this whole Southeastern thing. We heard the same rhetoric during the Dole regime, and it was propaganda that turned a lot of people against people from the Southeast. Then it was the Crown people. Now, since it's the Crew people, it's going to be the Crew people won't dominate the other region of the country. People have been saying that before, and I think Charlie made a great point, because that was a simple fact that we always gloss over. That during Ellington, you had Snow, who's from Bummy, and I think Bon mixed between there. We had Yekeh, who I think is from the other region, not from the Southeast. We had the president, who is half Crew, but her father is from Bummy. And we had the vice president, who's from Jofa in the West. So the reality is, people have seen other governments who have had people from their region, even during the Taylor time, have position of power, but will never carry that rhetoric. And I think as a man from the Southeast, and yourself being from the Southeast, we should speak against it, because even though we're in America and something happening in our country again, just how people are being targeted based on tribe, it will be a regional conflict where people will be targeted based on their region, and we should quash it in its infancy. Because we will sit here and think it's funny, we know Southeastern, the people don't mean any harm by it, but other people will take it in a more serious way. And I think Chuppy is right on JMB. Even though I disagree with him based on his age and his record, but I think one of the things that people underestimate about him is his tribalism. We have to speak on it. It's our, people who are in the media, you guys, you should speak on it, because it brings division. And we still are not healed from that war. We still haven't reconciled. So there's still, bad blood between people from the Southeast and other regions who haven't fully healed.
Thank you.
But in terms of the president trip, let me just get 10 seconds on that before I depart. The president trip is a nothing burger in reality, because I remember Ellen Johnson said we took a long trip. And in her trip, at least she was honest, she said she needed some time for the rejuvenation. She haven't had a break in so long, so it will give her some time to take a break. This is the president's, 5th year in office.
How long was the Ellen trip, you said?
I'm not sure, but it was quite an extensive trip. I can't give you the exact number, but it was her longest trip. I think she took that trip in November or September of 2016 or so. It was like on her last year of being president. So it's almost like, a lame duck president, or maybe not lame duck, but coming to the end of your term. You can go on a festive, kind of a holiday. It's not a big deal. Right. You're in Liberia, what you'll be doing different anyways than what you're doing in Qatar right now. So that's what that about our trip. And then once you see someplace, I will do the same thing about in our position.
Before you go, if you're in that same position, you'll go to the World Cup for 2 weeks and sit there to watch your son?
Definitely.
All right.
I'll go there and sit there and watch my son.
Thank you. Let's bring in our next caller here. That's James Meyer. If I'm getting the name right, go ahead. You're live. 717 area code.
Okay, this is Jemima calling from the state of Pennsylvania here. I'm calling to really talk about Joshua's behavior as a president of a whole nation of Liberia. I don't understand why he just living this childish life as a president. I mean, leaving a country and traveling for so long, it's just a shame. It is a shame for you to leave Liberia. I heard that he took a trip from the 1st of November to the 23rd of November. And then after that, he asked for another 9 days to go to another mere country to watch TV about his son playing. That is 32 days.
It's more than that. He wants to go back December 18th. From November 1st to December 18th.
Look, let me tell you something. Like Liberians, these people have made fool out of us for too long. These people have made fool out of us for too long. Joshua did not become a president to build Liberia. This man became a president to enrich himself. He and his wife. Let me tell you, this is, when you look at this whole thing, this is, I don't know how many of you read your Bible, but this is what we call generational curse. This is a national curse. This is a behavior from one president to another. It did not start with Joshua. There's a pattern when you look at it, and you see why none of them have any good legacy in Liberia. Not one, not even Ellen Johnson, not President Tallman, not Samuel Kado, not Charles Taylor, not even a so-called Queen man from Nima County. Liberia, if we do not wake up and we become so laid back, and say, oh, you know, these are the leaders, that's what they do. Let me tell you something. Whatever they do in the government, affecting the citizens from one generation to another, we have to keep talking about it. We cannot sit back and let these murderers continue to run the nation on the ground. We just can't do that. we can't do that. We cannot continue to allow these people to do this to us, to the next generation, from one generation to another. You know, no good education, no good hospital, no good roads. I mean, our high school graduates can only read to save their lives, yet these politicians, they own houses outside of the country. May God punish them.
Thank you. And Evans, you talk about the president Salif leaving the country for a long time. What I'm reading here is it was probably less than 3 weeks, some say 13 days. So please check that and come back again, Evans. Let me take Mr. Kesely Double. Mr. Double, you're live.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. John. It's been a while.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I've been following the show. I've been calling, you know, like there are problems. Sometimes get off of Twitter and we just have to sit on the side and watch the show. So, Mr. John, my problem is with President Weah. And as for me, I'm not surprised because I really didn't expect anything from him from day one. When he was in the race, from the very first day he started the whole presidency thing, I said that the election of Weah had been a disaster for Liberia. But what surprises me most is that the legislature refusing to impeach George Weah. George Weah himself had been asking to be impeached from the very first day. George Weah had been implicated into every crime in Liberia. Almost all of his appointees had accused George Weah of committing crimes, ranging from the passport director, going to the managing director of Water and Sewer, going to as far as the national chairman of his political party, and you can name it. If it was Liberia was any serious country by now, the legislature would have proceeded to impeach George Weah.
Thank you.
But Liberia being what it is, we are just on it. I mean, he's done it. After a while, we just discuss it and we just let it go. George Weah is a cheap criminal. Let's just say it blunt. They were not looking to the president. They wanted to steal from the Liberian people. This man was broke, completely broke. He could not even afford to do anything for himself. When he came to the presidency, all he did was to enrich himself, get estates, travel to the best place he wanted to be, and after that, he never traveled before. It is shameful. It is disgraceful. And sometimes when I see my friends trying to defend what this man is doing, I'm taken aback. I mean, it is just shameful, man. That's all we can say. And we just hope we can be done by 2023.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. Let me take our last caller here. Caller, your name and where you calling from.
Thank you, Mr. This is Alex calling from Sufa, South Dakota.
Alex, you say?
Yeah, Alex calling from Sufa, South Dakota.
Go ahead, Alex. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thank you. You know, like, I've been listening more. Let me be specific. I'm from the Southeast, which is Maryland County, although I didn't go there, I was going in Monterey County. But, like, some of the issues that we're talking about today, like, for the Wakakian, or they didn't need any presidency from the Southeast. But the fact I support is Cummings. But we're looking at who can carry that girl better. Let's see, we talked about Prince Mori. He was having a Deputy Speaker position. And even the Heavy Costa, the already ran campaign against him that he already had a position. And he left that position to go in the Senate. But he's forgetting to know, he didn't want to have a particular Deputy Speaker position, and he left it. And they all sat in the Senate, in the lower house. They went and voted for the other criminal. They went and voted for him too. Who from the Southeast too, the other criminal. They went and voted for him. And today,
you're talking about Fonati, you call him criminal?
Fonati Kofa. They all sat there and Primoy left that position. And Kofa went and took that position. And today, they say, Prophet Chima. Although I from Southeast, but I don't support Prophet Chima. The one even dummy speaker we ever had in our country. You see it? So we here today, all the people they had that position will never complain. But today they tell them all the other position they from the Southeast, the other person from the Southeast. It's not what we need. But who can really do the job? And if I lose all the candidates, I see Alexander Cummings. I have that thing I can do better for Liberia. This is the man who put in that bill for like he don't need even a pay for all the other vampire who are running for president just for them to be able to fold their package. That's all they need. But we're looking at who can do the job and looking at Alexander Cummings. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you. All right, that will be our last caller here. Gentlemen, time is fast spent. Thank you so much. Let's go around the room to conclude. I have one last thing, so let's touch it before we, maybe that can be our conclusion. Councillor Tiamon said Gonglo is in the United States. I would say again, according to his people, he toured Nimba County visiting over 100 towns. But he's in the United States at the same time. Our president has been out of the country for 25 days. Well, all of y'all leave now. Who y'all leaving the country with? Mommy. Everybody's leaving.
Liberian people are taking charge of their situation. Every time when there are pressing national issues and the people go quiet, remain silent, they are prepared to make groundbreaking decisions. Liberian people have seen, they live the consequences of Weah's decision. They know the solution is not to protest. They know the solution is not to go to the bush to bring war. They know the solution is to reject Weah. And by rejecting Weah, they will be sending a message to future leaders that you not guarantee a second term when you don't perform during your first term. We are not fools. So it doesn't matter whether Gonglo is in Monrovia or Buaka or Cummings in Monrovia. The people live in the reality of the consequences of, we have decisions in making. So nobody need to be there to rally them.
But Mr. Mohammed, let me ask you this. Has Councillor Gonglo made enough noise to awaken the voters to turn his way?
The issues confronting the voters are what Councillor Gonglo is pushing and justifying to Liberians that he's the best to confront it. The issue confronting the people is just tied down to corruption and mismanagement of public resources. People not enforcing the laws. There are good laws on the book. Nobody get a character and a commitment. to enforce those laws. You come to issue about travel and travel per diem and travel ordinances. Weah is only exploiting an existing law that was carved, organized, and set aside only to exploit foreign travel. So we're talking about Gonglo, who was serving as a minister in several times now for cameras. Every time he travels, he comes back and we put excess fund that he did not use. And that's the character we're talking. So when you're talking today about, we are traveling using 200,000, he spend this and that. Gonglo has been taking action on his own as an individual to lay a foundation of how we can address these issues as an individual.
Thank you.
So I was just trying to say that without making noise, the issues confronting the people, we presented ourselves long before today as an alternative to addressing those issues. I don't know whether that's my closing statement or you wanted me to.
We'll get to the closing statement. I just wanted to get this out of the way quickly. So let me go to Jonathan. Jonathan, Councillor Gonglo is out of the country. President Weah is out. When President Weah went out the first time, your man, Mr. Cummings, and your other guy, Mr. Weah, they went and gave their cold water speeches. After that, nothing else. President Weah is still out. In fact, he's asking for extension. Right? Now, some are saying you may be only depending on Yekeh to make some noise, to stir the water for you.
As a matter of fact, and I will re-emphasize it again, we can cause all the noise that we need to cause. We can demonstrate. It is still left within a enclave of the president, within a range of the president, to have the political will to take on some of those pieces of advice that have been provided him all the years. And it is also the responsibility of the ordinary voters and the Liberian people who have known that there's a mistake that they made in 2017 to correct that mistake decisively based on the different speeches, the different pointers that demonstrated that President Weah is inept and unable to govern. And so we will re-emphasize that President Weah travel had been long budgeted. President Weah had added more money to his Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs than the entire branch of the judiciary. President Weah foreign travel means is $869,000 more. President Weah travel daily subsistence is $337,000. The year has reached an end. President Weah wants to collect all that money by whatever means, even if the process or the way leading to those travel will not be beneficial to our country, and even if they are diplomatic or ambassadors representing Liberia that can execute that function, President Weah will do everything humanly possible to make sure that he can take more than that 1 million plus allocated for his travel in order to absorb it. That is why he wrote a misrepresentation of a communication to the national legislature. And so we are concerned. We will keep hammering it for our people to understand that this is on purpose, and the purpose is to get the money out of the budget so that President Weah can support his habit. President Weah is not concerned that there are hospitals without dialysis machine. President Weah is not concerned about promoting malaria in our country. President Weah is not concerned about how efficient and effective the subsidy to rights will be executed. President Weah is just not concerned about anything concerning Liberia, except that he wants to retain his seat, and that's the only biggest concern of the president.
Mr. Charlie, if it is established that the president indeed lied about his trip to Paris, what should be done?
Well, I'm not going to preempt an investigation of that level. That type of investigation needs more. But I wanted to call out raise a point which is also a fact and show the hypocrisy of the critics, especially from the Joseph Boakai Unity Party. The 7-day laws for presidential travel or even government travel across all of Liberia was made by the very Unity Party, Joseph Boakai Unity Party government. And the point about Ellen traveling, and you said 13 days, which is the issue is not about whether she stay outside the same number of days as George Weah is doing, but the fact that she stayed more than the 7 days Joseph Baga United Party established. So even though she stayed past that time of the law that they established, the very Joseph Baga and United Party defended Ellen time past that law. To see this coming now to critique George Weah, I'm showing the hypocrisy, the duplicity in the behavior. This is why they have no relevance and should have no place in our governance. So coming back to Mr. Gonglo, Gonglo began his political journey again, like we said, everybody, trying to get their base, whether it's a tribal base or county base. And there was no query about that. We did not hear any criticism. And now he's come to America. He's trying to rally base. I mean, that's a good thing. We have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. I think it's all part of the political theater in terms of organizing, mobilizing. That one reach out to diverse group or anywhere Liberians are situated to gain support. But that kind of support is not just or a qualification in itself for presidency. Being a good person or a humanitarian does not qualify you to be a president. We have not seen Gonglo in real-time decision-making, executive decision-making, or even strong political decision-making. I mean, those are issues that we have to look at. We've not talking about whether he's been a good lawyer. We've not talking about whether he has been honest in his bringing back money from the government. Those are all good qualities that we celebrate. But so he began for his political base. I just have to close that. He began for his political base in Nima County, other places. There was no criticism. Again, take us back to the tribalists of the Unity Party. And we have to keep emphasizing this point, because what we see coming from the Unity Party is dangerous politics that can poison the whole political system in our country for hatred. We see clear political hatred. When the Unity Party was in power, Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf from Bombing County, and I'd like to list this thing because first I did not list them. Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf from Bombing County, Joseph Braga from Lofa County is the same Northwestern region. You had Alex Tyler, Speaker from the same Northwestern region. Toga Moba from the same West Northern region, Deputy Speaker. You had even the Foreign Minister, Gafan, from the same Northwestern region. One of both. The
Deputy Speaker at Central Liberia, just to correct you.
I mean, he's not for the Southeast.
Ball County at Central Liberia. Let me be clear with that.
That's the same belt. The same pellet belt.
That's Central Liberia. Let me be clear.
Pellet belt runs to Lofa and Bapulu County.
All right.
So you have Amara Conan from that same Western belt, Northwestern belt. You have Gafan, and then you have Defense Minister. These are all the top powerful people in the country at the time. They all came from one side of the country. Nobody, even the CDC, as harsh as the CDC was against the Unity Party, did not even tribalism. We did not even.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'm saying that we all need to condemn, and I'm saying I'm calling on the ANC also. I'm calling on the Gonglo. They need to condemn the Unity Party for preaching tribalism.
No, we cannot condemn the thing that is bad.
We all have to rise up to good governance.
People who have come to
tribalism in this country. We cannot continue to preach tribalism against one people. Southeastern are not a threat to Liberia democracy. Unity Party should stop this thing. And if ANC, Mr. Cummings is serious, you need to preach against this. If Gonglo is serious, you need to condemn the Unity Party and Joseph Baga for this tribalism.
Thank you. You said Gonglo never made an executive decision. And
I didn't say he never made an executive decision. I didn't say never. I said we've not seen more executive decision in the political terms. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying more.
And you are comparing him to Weah prior to becoming president.
Now someone has to be in the presidency, but in terms of making decisions for the country, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. If you compare him to Weah,
I'm not even comparing him to Weah. I'm talking about himself.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for tonight. It was a spirited discussion. Let's go around the room for 15 seconds each to give your closing comments. Mr. Lawmaker, you start.
I will start, and I will say, how can you see a former labor minister, former solicitor general, former executive secretary to the president, and you say he has not made executive decision?
I didn't say he has not. I said He said he has not. No, we're gonna correct the record. I didn't say he did not.
So Gonglo made a decision as labor minister that restricted work for Liberians. Gonglo made a decision as labor minister that went against the interest and the desire of the U.S. government, the U.S. embassy in Liberia, and he brought them to understand that he was acting in accordance with the law. They heeded to him. Gonglo made a decision in Liberia that dispatched and qualified lawyers across the country. First time in the history for county attorneys to be law school graduates. That's decision made by Gonglo. That's transformative decision. And you say on the show and say that made, but he has not been a career politician. So you don't expect him to be making decisions in political parties. He has been a technocrat working for transformation. So he made transformative decisions. Decisions that create jobs for Liberians. Decision that creates level playing field for political parties.
So close now. You have 30 seconds to close.
So on my closing, I come back to the issue and say the legislature must see reason to investigate the president's travel all over the country. The president's latest letter to the legislature saying that he's staying additional 7 days in Qatar because the Peace Forum in Paris, France, was extended from the 15th to the 18th is an erroneous information. The Peace Forum in Paris official website has a press release that says the forum started from the 11th and ended on the 12th. The president's claim that his program was extended to the 18th, for which he has to stay additional days in Qatar, is a misinformation. We're calling on the legislature to investigate that, and if culpable, the president should be impeached because he's lying under oath.
Thank you. Choppy, you're closing, sir.
Well, again, we want to say thanks for having us here tonight, and thanks to my colleague for a very civil discussion. I always look forward to these civil dialogues straight on the issues. But Liberia is now moving to one of these, for lack of a better word, crazy season, electoral process where there's a lot of hype and everybody trying to aspire for this presidential quest. I want to remind Liberians, this notion that an individual, one man is responsible for a country problem has been tried, tested, and failed. No one individual, not a president, is responsible for the governance of the country all by himself. The governance of the country, as prescribed in our Constitution, is the responsibility of 3 branches: the executive branch, the judiciary branch, and the legislative branch being the foremost branch. The president has been working, doing his part. The question is, what has these other branches been doing to help the governance process in the country? The opposition dominates the legislative branch. They are in control of the first branch of government. They have not been able to delevel based on the Constitution, give them the power for development in the country, for appropriating resources, building roads, building high schools and hospitals. The president cannot build a school if the legislature do not appropriate funding for that school. The president cannot create jobs if the legislature do not give the president the money to create jobs.
Thank you.
So the legislature have continued to fail in their obligation, in a fiduciary responsibility, and we want to blame the president for not doing these things. In his own wisdom, the president has been doing, but he cannot govern the country by himself. Let's hold our legislature responsible. Let's hold our judiciary branch responsible, and let's transform the country and stop blaming a single individual for the problem in our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan, you're closing.
Yeah, thank you so very kindly for this opportunity again. And let me quickly state that the president is a member of the legislature to an extent. By extension, the president has a spy who is the vice president, and that spy work on behalf of the cabinet and inform the cabinet about everything to the best of its interest, and they act upon it. So if the legislator who are opposition leaders are not acting in the very best interest of the general public and are acting to the acquiescence of the president, who is also acting against the will of the Liberian people, then it means that the president and the legislator share those responsibilities of acting in a wrong position on behalf of the Liberian people. I'd like to say quickly that the president trip is all about money, and this is the way by which people have scorned cash from the for the country. The census process got on a bad footing. The marginal error we anticipate will be high based on the level at which it started. The bidding process of the biometric by the National Elections Commission, that it should be in some what the amount of 11 million that is been believed to have been is believed to be given or will be given to Lexstone or a company that are not provided, an institution that are not provided any financial statement as in keeping with the biometric and the PPCC law. And lastly, to state that all of what we are requesting President Weah to not be elected by the Liberian people, they are based upon some of those foreign image situations. Like today, we are concerned about Samuel Kwame Abeki, who is currently has committed suicide but was carrying Liberian diplomatic passport. We don't know the report about Sheikh Basaru Kente, who was investigated and on the soil of the United States. Today, our foreign ministry and I come out with a report. Councillor Elisha Stowe have written, along with other lawyers, written the Justice Ministry requesting that the Justice Ministry should demonstrate to the Liberian people why up to now the 3 sanctioned officials have not been prosecuted and the Ministry of Justice gave account. These are different manner and form that the opposition operates, and ordinary Liberians join them to show to our people that the president has outsourced the responsibility. And so we are only saying to our senators that it is about time that you match the communication that the president sent you, the itinerary of the Paris peace talk, and ask the president why he should not be impeached, lying on an oath for something that was not mentioned in the Paris peace conference for which he had requested for extension.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for the time tonight. I want to thank our audience for always being here on Focus on Liberia Debate. If somebody is troubling you too much on Facebook, back and forth, tell them let's go to FOL and debate. It is better, as Dr. Famula said, it is better to use our mouth and talk because our mouth are not gone. So it's better to talk than to go fight. Thank you again for coming. We want to thank our audience for listening and watching, and even those who will watch later. We always want to remind you that we are all Liberians and that what counts. That's the song we're going to close with tonight. Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians.